Good morning and welcome to another episode of Sick Call. I'm Staff Sergeant Scott McMenemy with the Valencia Army Medical Recruiting Station. Also with us today from the station is Sergeant First Class Michelle Phillips.
Good morning.
This week we're talking to Major Matt Cooley. Major Matt Cooley is a clinical laboratory officer in the U.S. Army on active duty. Welcome, sir, and thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I received my Army commission through ROTC at the University of North Dakota with a bachelor's degree in medical laboratory science. I entered active duty in February 2007. So I came in during the troop surge in Iraq. So I didn't come in right away as a 71 Echo laboratory sciences officer. I spent my first 3 years as a 70 Bravo medical operations officer with the 10th Mountain Division. So after my initial assignment, I was able to transition to become a 71 Echo based off my educational background and have been a laboratory officer ever since.
Very cool. And you, sir, came from a time where they allowed you to do an easy transition, if you will. But folks out there today, if they're currently serving like yourself, they would have to come find one of us to help them with that application packet. That's correct, sir, right?
Yep, correct. So when I was able to transition, they just had a kind of an impromptu board to evaluate your educational background, and they were able just to directly transfer you across to that other AOC. But you're right. Now it's all done through an Army medical recruiter to transition to become a laboratory sciences officer.
So how'd you get started in your field?
So for the 71 Echo career field, most of our officers, like we talked about, they come through an Army medical recruiter. They enter through direct commissioning after visiting that recruiter. So you come in with a prerequisite minimum bachelor's degree in medical laboratory science, also a national certification in either medical technology or medical laboratory science. So like I said, I entered the Army through ROTC, so my route was a little bit different, having served as a 70 Bravo medic platoon leader for my first few years. Based on needs of the Army. So after the needs of the Army matched my personal career aspirations, that's when I was able to finally transition to become a laboratory sciences officer.
Sir, so you've been serving for a little while now, of course, so you have maybe more of a managerial type role. What types of positions have you held or can potential applicants expect to kind of see for their career?
Yeah, so again, my route was a little bit atypical, but some of the jobs I held as a 70 Bravo were medical supply officer, medical platoon leader, medical operations officer. But as a 71 Echo laboratory officer, I've held positions as in hospitals and clinics as a client services chief, hematology chief, deputy laboratory manager, and now laboratory manager here at Bassett Army Community Hospital. But you're right. A lot of those positions that on the officer side as a laboratory science officer are managerial positions, leading laboratory technicians and civilian medical laboratory scientists in their research or clinical missions.
Awesome. What does a typical day look like for you, sir?
That's a tricky question. So no day is really typical. Right now I work in a pretty small Army hospital in Alaska, but we do provide some complex clinical care. Any day might be managing a postpartum hemorrhage, preparing life-saving blood and blood products for patient transfusion, collecting pre-deployment laboratory specimens for deploying units, or really what's dominated our lives for the last few months is testing, collecting, managing the COVID testing mission up here in Alaska. So you can't really let the daily mission overwhelm you, because outside of that typical duty day, you are still responsible for maintaining your personal physical readiness. That's one of the big differences on the Army medicine side. That patient care mission kind of creates a little bit different hours of operation for you. So we don't typically have the mass formation 0600 PT session. So it becomes a little more of a personal responsibility.
So you mentioned, sir, that obviously there are some differences between Army medicine and the civilian sector, if you will. You've had, now we know you've had some extra training, some Army types training. So what are maybe some other things that would differentiate them, or what other kind of trainings can they, look forward to outside of the normal scope?
Yeah, so really that's kind of based on where you're at and what the training budget and what schools are available locally to that command. But Honestly, within Army medicine, just in the last few years up here at a small hospital in Alaska, we were able to get air assault slots, and I was able to go to air assault school, well assigned to a hospital. So those kind of cool guy schools are available to soldiers who are in Army medicine.
Awesome. Where all have you been stationed?
So I started out in Fort Drum, New York. Was there for about 3 years. Then Fort Lewis, or Joint Base Lewis McChord, for about 4 years. Spent time in Kisumu, Kenya, in Africa for about a year and a half, and then Fairbanks, Alaska, for the last 4 years.
Awesome.
So you mentioned Kenya, sir. That's kind of a cool boy toy, if you will. What other kind of places could people expect to maybe see in your field?
Yeah, so in the laboratory officers field, we do have quite a few overseas tours. So my position in Kenya was as a clinical laboratory consultant. So that's through the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research and other similar organizations that are throughout the world. We also have a research organization in Thailand, one in the Republic of Georgia, and there are hospital-based overseas assignments in Korea, Germany, and some smaller opportunities in Japan through blood donor centers.
So what's been your favorite assignment?
Oh, that's a tough one. So all of my assignments have had some unique characteristics that made them really enjoyable and stand out. At Fort Drum, I think the thing that stuck out most there, being in a brigade combat team, was kind of living that what you think of as typical Army soldier life. The formations, organized PT, going to the ranges, all that fun Army stuff. At Madigan Army Medical Center, that was my first laboratory assignment in the military, so it was neat to kind of learn that complex hybrid management style, dealing with soldiers, civilian staff, contractors, which was obviously a big culture shift from recently departing a brigade combat team and an all male, all infantry unit. So but yeah, all of my assignments have something unique that makes them stick out. And then, of course, Alaska. It's just a beautiful place to live and work. So I think that's the outside of work aspect has been the most enjoyable thing about my time up here in Alaska.
So you talk about that. Most people like to go to Alaska for vacation. Everyone I talk to asks me, like, what was it like? Because they always dream of going there. When I was because I was stationed there as well. What kind of activities are you able to partake in while you're up there?
Yeah, that's really exciting. So a lot of people pay to come up here to go on vacation, or spend a lot of money to move up here and try out Alaska living for a few years. The Army pays us to come and do this, so we get a nice 3 to 4 year paid vacation up here in Alaska. Just easy access to any outdoor activity you can imagine: skiing, snowmobiling, hiking, hunting, fishing. Anything you want to do up here in Alaska is all just a day trip or less away.
There's actually a ski slope on post, correct?
There is, yeah. So that's another unique opportunity up here in Alaska, and some of the more remote military installations do have benefits like this. So the MWR operates an on-post ski and tubing hill with cross-country ski trails. So in the summer, that's all mountain bike trails. So lots of good military activities up here as well.
Sir, you bring up a lot of really good points in that last little bit, because, when people think soldiers, that they think the uniform, they think, regimented, PT, those kind of things, but they don't necessarily know about some of those underlying benefits, right? And so travel being one of them, MWR, morale, welfare, and recreation. So like at cost kind of, fun activities for our families. But education is another piece of that is available to folks throughout their career. Can you kind of touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so we were talking about that before we went on the air. Really within Army medicine, that's my opinion, the best opportunity for advanced degree and training opportunities that's available in the Department of Defense. Typically, after your first 3 to 5 years in the military, you're eligible for what's called long-term health education and training opportunities, and those range from different training with industry programs, master's degrees, doctorate degrees. On the nursing side, nurse anesthesia, nurse practitioner, there's just an endless amount of educational opportunities available to soldiers who are in Army medicine.
That's awesome. And it's such a great thing to know, because folks come in at different varying levels of their career or of their education, and they think they're going to get kind of pigeonholed, if you will. So you're a perfect example of being able to further your education and pursue a PhD, while still serving and the Army still paying you every day. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, it really is. A lot of people think once you come into the military, that's going to be the end of your educational career, but that's absolutely not true. Just endless amount of educational opportunities while you're on active duty, and that's the other key thing. While you're on active duty, so your healthcare is paid for, you still get your active duty pay and benefits. So it's just really unmatched opportunities within Army medicine.
So, sir, we're kind of getting to the point where we're wrapping up the show now. So I'd like to ask, if you were coming in tomorrow as a new officer, what piece of advice do you wish you would have received?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me probably to get for advice coming into the military is just really take every opportunity, even if you view it as a setback. Take that and run with it. To be honest, when I first received my first assignment as a 70 Bravo medic platoon leader, I was disappointed. I went to school to become a medical laboratory scientist. I was expecting to come in as a laboratory sciences officer, and that didn't happen. But really, once I got into that position, it's just all the opportunities that were in front of me just immediately excited me. Got to do all the cool Army stuff, shoot the cool guns, drive the cool vehicles, go to ranges, all that fun stuff. Get paid to work out for a good chunk of your day in an infantry unit. Can't beat that. So if you're in the Army long enough, you're going to come across those instances when you feel like it's a big setback, but just don't view it as a setback, view it as another opportunity, and it's just one more step in your long marathon of a journey.
Such great advice, sir.
So, sir, thank you again for being with us today.
Yeah, well, thanks guys for having me.
That's awesome. And as always, we welcome your comments and questions. You can comment below or on any of our other social media platforms. Next week, we'll have Eric Leva with us on our show. He's a 4-year recipient of our Health Profession Scholarship Program. He'll be attending dental school in the fall. Join us next week to find out more about his application process, and we're going to commission him as an Army officer as well. Have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week here on Sit Call. Bye.
Bye.